let girlfriend stay in my apartment after her family problems but found out she was cheating and lying about me, so I told her mom, who took me in and kicked her out while everyone else turned on her for good. I still don't know what stung more, the betrayal itself, or how quickly love turned into something toxic, ugly, and so twisted I barely recognized the girl I used to hold in my arms every night. For a while, I kept asking myself, over and over, how did we go from that warm laughter under the sheets to this nightmare that didn't even feel like it was mine? It did not begin with some colossal battle or monumental mistake. No. It was subtle. Insidious. It began like most things do, innocently, quietly, when you don't even realize you're headed toward a cliff until you're tumbling over it. She and I had been together for nearly 2 years when things started to change. We weren't just dating, we were living together at her mom's house. Her mother had a spare room after her divorce and offered it to us so we could save up. It wasn't fancy, but it was home. And her mother? She was nice. Strict sometimes, but nice. She worked long hours, hardly interfered, and treated me with uncommon respect for a man who was dating her only daughter. I'd help her with shopping, chores, fixing little things around the house. I wasn't trying to impress, I just thought that's what good guys did. Things with my girlfriend were fine at first. Comfortable. We had our own little routines: morning coffee, movie nights, midnight walks around the block when we couldn't sleep. There was a rhythm to our life. But then, bit by bit, the rhythm got lost. She'd stay out later and not say where she'd been. Her phone was always face down. Conversations were thinner. Like she was present, but only half of her. I'd say what's wrong, and she'd brush it off or change the subject. I did not want to be controlling, so I made myself give her space. I made myself say it was just a phase, just stress. We all go through it, right? But the truth? Deep down I knew something wasn't right. I felt it in my gut, that old pull of fear every time she smiled at her phone and angled the screen away. I'd hear her whispering in the hall at midnight saying, "I'll call you later," or, "He's asleep." I wanted to be able to believe it wasn't what it looked like. I wanted to be paranoid. But one night I couldn't sleep. Something was keeping me awake, like my body was warning me. So I got up for water, quietly, and on the way back to bed, I saw her phone vibrating on the coffee table. Just vibrating and vibrating. Over and over. Same name popping up on the screen. A name that I didn't know. I didn't touch it. I didn't even have to. Because right then, she emerged from the bathroom and froze when she saw me standing there, looking at her phone. And I saw panic in her eyes. That's all it took. My chest went hollow. I didn't even shout. I just asked quietly, "Who's that?" She stared at me for a few seconds, long enough for me to get a clear view of what the answer was, and then said, "Just a friend." I nodded. Right. I walked by her and sat on the edge of the bed, trying to breathe. Not to let the anger, heartbreak, humiliation overwhelm me all at the same time. She followed me, sat down with me, and repeated it again. "He's just a friend." I stared at her and said, "Does your friend know you sleep beside me every night?" She didn't have anything to say. I didn't have anything else to say. There was nothing else to say. Things cooled off over the next couple of days. We weren't talking. She'd stay out later. Her mom noticed. She asked me if everything was okay, and I told her honestly. "I don't think so." That's all I told her. I came home early a week afterward and found them fighting, my girlfriend and her mom, yelling behind a closed door. I did not mean to eavesdrop, but I froze when I heard my name. Her mom was yelling, saying things like, "How could you do this in my home? He's done nothing but treat you right." And my girlfriend. She didn't even deny it. She screamed back that it was none of her business, that she could do what she wanted, and that he's not perfect either. That part. That hurt. Because I never said I was perfect. But I was loyal. I was honest. I was trying. Her mom threw her out that night. She begged, she cried, she promised it wouldn't happen again. But her mom was done. And surprisingly, she told me I could stay, for as long as I needed, until I got my life together. She said I reminded her of her ex, but in the ways he should have been. I had no idea what to say. I was grateful, But I also felt this weird guilt. Like I'd broken something in their family, even though I hadn't done anything wrong. My girlfriend moved in with some friend, I think. We didn't speak after that. I thought that was the end of it. Painful, but clean. But no. That was only the beginning. 2 weeks later, I started getting these weird messages from people I hadn't heard from in years. Hey. Is it true? Dude, what the hell? One of my friends even called me and was like, Bro, I didn't want to believe it, but she's telling everyone you're sleeping with her mom now. My jaw literally dropped. My mouth dried up. I laughed at first, just out of disbelief. I told myself, there's no way she'd stoop that low. But she did. She said it to mutual friends, her coworkers, even posted cryptic messages online. Like, some people actually do climb the ladder, even if it's by sleeping with your family. I was stunned. Embarrassed. Furious. People started cutting themselves off from me. Girls I knew stopped speaking to me. One guy even said I was disgusting at a party and stormed off. And her mother, her poor mother, she was just as stunned as I was. She found out when someone at work showed her the posting and asked her if it was true. I remember sitting across the kitchen table from her, the two of us just staring at each other in silence, neither one of us knowing what to say. She finally said, I'm sorry. I had no idea she would do something like this. I nodded. But I did not know if I was more hurt, or just numb. The next few days were kind of a blur. I was not eating much, barely sleeping. I would lie in bed at night just staring at the ceiling, wondering how someone I loved so much was able to turn the relationship into a horror story in such a brutal way. It was no longer a breakup, it was character assassination. I could not stop playing it over and over again in my head, what she said, the looks she gave me that night when I found out it was all lies. I couldn't help but wonder if I had done something differently, maybe if I had begged her to stay or fought harder for us, that things wouldn't have turned out this way. But that was the thing, I had fought. Quietly. I fought every single day to wake up and love her even when it started to hurt. That was meant to be worth something. I didn't know how to fight a rumor like that. I couldn't just go around shouting, I didn't sleep with her mom, and expect people to believe me. Not when some of them clearly wanted to believe the drama. I lost many people then. Friends that I'd known for years who now looked at me differently, like I was tainted. People who did not even care to ask me my side of the story. It made me realize how quickly people turn when there is gossip to be gained. Her mom attempted to step in, bless her heart. She told her coworkers what had transpired, cleared the air with anyone who confronted her, even posted a message online once. But it backfired. Because then people started to accuse her of defending me too much. That maybe something really had happened. Damage was already done. The lie had legs and was running wild. I stopped going out unless I really had to. Every trip to the supermarket was like being under a microscope. I couldn't shake the feeling that everyone was whispering behind my back, judging me for something I didn't do. I was still getting texts from her, yeah, even after all this. First, only short messages such as, hope you're happy, or, bet you love the attention. Then voice messages. Long ones? Angry ones? She accused me of ruining her life. Said I'd turned her own mother against her. That I'd taken everything from her, her home, her friends, her peace. That last one struck a chord. Her peace? I remember sitting on the bathroom floor, lights off, just listening to one of her messages with my head against the wall. My heart was pounding, my hands were shaking, and I remember whispering, what did I do to deserve this? It felt like I was in a bad movie. Like this wasn't my life anymore, like I was just playing some part one never auditioned for. Her mom saw me struggling. She tried her best. Cooked dinner for the two of us, invited me to talk, left messages next to the door reminding me that I wasn't alone. But I could see the terror in her eyes. I could see how all of this had broken her, too. This was her daughter. Her only child. And she was stepping back, observing her from a distance, not capable of fixing her, not capable of rescuing either of us. We were sitting on the porch one evening. It was cold, quiet. I was hooded, staring out into the dark yard, and she came out with 2 cups of tea. She didn't say anything at first. Just sat down next to me and handed me one. Then, after a lengthy silence, she said, "You know, people often strike out when they feel like they've lost control. Doesn't make it right. Doesn't excuse it. But it helps to remember it's not about you." Not really. I didn't say anything. I couldn't. My throat was shut, my chest burning. I think that was the first time I ever cried in front of her. Just silent tears falling down my face, my fingers tightening into the scalding mug as though it was the only thing anchoring me to the ground. She didn't try to comfort me, didn't put her arm around me and say something trite. She just sat. Let me feel it. That silence, that gentle, present kind of silence, was worth more to me than words would have been. Then I started doing small things to be normal again. Cleaning the kitchen. Going on short walks. Listening to music and not skipping the songs that made me think of her. I even started journaling, something I'd never done. Just dumping everything somewhere that wasn't in my head. It helped. I gradually began to reconnect with a few of my friends, the ones who'd actually made the effort to call and inquire about how I was doing instead of jumping on the gossip train. One even told me, "Bro, I knew it couldn't be true. It just didn't sound like you." That meant more than he knew. I think people underestimate the power of being believed. Of just someone standing beside you and saying, "Yeah, I know who you are." I still got the occasional message. From her. From anonymous accounts. From concerned people. But by then, the sting wasn't as sharp. I'd already passed through the fire. Her words no longer burned the same way. The worst of it, though, was what this whole experience did to my trust issues. I found myself doubting everything, even compliments. Even kindness. I just couldn't help but wonder what people really meant, what they would say about me behind my back. It was exhausting. And it left me wondering if I'd ever feel safe again in someone's arms, or under someone's gaze. I'd lie awake and wonder if every next person I'd meet would just turn out to be another source of hurt. Or if I'd ever be able to love again without fear. Healing, I've learned, is not pretty. It is not this neat little process where one day you just get over it. It is messy. It is uneven. Some days you think you've moved on. Other days, a smell, a song, a random photo memory pops up on your phone and there it all is again, the betrayal, the confusion, the loss. But as time passed, I began to put myself back together, not me who I had been with her, but me who I was supposed to be without her. Not spitefully, not to prove a point. Just because I deserved to be whole again. I deserved peace. And I finally relocated from her mom's home. Not because I was asked to. She actually offered to let me stay on as long as I needed. But I knew it was time to leave. We hugged before I left. She cried. I almost did too. Because somehow, in the middle of all that debris, we'd formed this odd little connection, two people hurt by the same person, trying to heal each other in the quiet. I'll always be grateful to her. For the way she stood by me when her own daughter couldn't. Or wouldn't. I moved into a small place across town, not much, just a studio with a tiny kitchen and a leaky faucet, but it was mine. Quiet. Untouched by the mess I'd left behind. That first night, I just sat on the floor amidst the unpacked boxes, ate cold pizza out of the box, and stared at the bare wall like it was some new start that I hadn't asked for. The silence was oppressive. I think that's what hit me the hardest, how silence follows you after all the noise. It doesn't soothe. It attacks you. Compels you to sit with all of that. And that first week, I did just that. I just sat with it all, memories, confusion, terror. I'd never be looked at the same again. I hardly even unpacked. Just the basics. The rest stayed packed up in boxes because, honest with you, part of me still didn't think this was really happening. Like I was sitting around waiting to wake up and discover it was all just some bad dream. But it wasn't. The rumors still lingered. Despite not hearing them every day, I could feel their hangover wherever I went. A friend's stare lingering just a bit too long. A colleague not looking at me. A neighbor being cheerful, but not inviting. People will tell you that words won't hurt, but that isn't true. Words can decay your name from the inside out. And even once you've navigated through them, they cling to you like a second skin. A couple months passed. I started rebuilding my life, not dramatically, not with some grand plan. Just quietly. I focused on work. Added overtime. Went back to the gym again, not because I was seeking some glow-up or revenge physique, but because I wanted to feel strong again. Physically. Mentally. I only had to be able to stand on my own without coming apart. I started therapy too. Something I'd been putting off for 40 years, half pride, half fear, but really, I just didn't know how to handle what had happened. I was always blaming myself in odd ways, even though I knew rationally that I'd done nothing wrong. My therapist one day asked me, "Why do you feel responsible for someone else's lie?" And I remember just staring at her for what felt like an hour, because I didn't know how to react to that. I think I just didn't like the feeling of being helpless. Of seeing someone else narrate my story as I stood by, seeing my name dragged through it. Therapy worked. Not in some magical solutioning sense, but in small, incremental ways. It gave me space to open things out I'd hidden away. To recognize how much I'd been wounded. How deceived I was, not just by her, but by those who'd embraced her without question. I wrote again too. Little things, notes, half-formed thoughts, dreams that didn't make sense. But it gave me something to do with the hurt. And over time, that hurt started to become something else. Not anger. Not even grief. Just understanding. That men are cruel when they are weak. That hurt people, if they don't process that hurt, will bleed on someone else. It wasn't about me. Never was. And the more I realized that, the freer I became. I ran into her once, by chance. It was midday, outside a supermarket. She saw me first. I recognized from how her body went rigid, how her eyes darted away and back as if she weren't sure if she should do something or do nothing. I said nothing. Just kept on walking. But she pushed in front of me and said, "Hey." That's all. And for a moment I saw the girl I knew, the one who laughed at stupid jokes, hugged me when it was chilly, gazed at me as though I was her entire universe. But that moment passed quickly. Because the moment I gazed at her, I could only see the devastation. All I could sense was the weight of what she'd said and done, and the silence that followed. She said to me, "I hear you're doing okay." Her voice was soft. Almost tentative. I nodded. Trying to. There was a thick, uncomfortable silence. She looked at her feet and said, "I'm sorry. For what I said. For what I did. I wasn't thinking. I was angry. I wanted to say something deep, but all that I could manage to get out was, 'You hurt me.'" I shook a little, and I hated that it happened. She nodded. Did not deny. Did not excuse. Just stood there like she had no clue what to do with herself. And then she said, "I don't expect you to forgive me." I looked at her for a long time before saying, "Good. Because I'm not there yet." She nodded again, and then she stepped aside to let me through. That was it. No great apology. No begging. Two people who used to know each other standing in the ruins of something broken. I don't know if I'll ever forgive her completely. Some wounds can't be healed. They just start to hurt less with time. But what I do know is that I didn't let that lie consume me. I didn't become the version of me everyone was convinced to believe. I held on to who I was. Who I am. And I think that's bigger than anything. Because the truth, no matter how quiet and slow, always will outlive a lie. A few days afterward, I couldn't get everything out of my head, not even the betrayal, but how much of myself that I'd lost inside of the relationship. It's incredible how it only is in the wake that you really see what's been lacking. How many years you've been shrinking yourself, giving up your peace, dancing around just to get someone else's approval who hasn't even seen the effort. I thought love was sacrifice. That if I sacrificed enough, waited long enough, proved myself enough, it would be enough. But now I see how often I gave away pieces of myself to someone who didn't value them. I wasn't just mourning the relationship. I was mourning the version of myself that thought I needed someone else to be complete. That one really hit home with me that night, going through old pictures, not even saving it, just clearing the way, literally and emotionally. I ran across one of a vacation we had taken together when everything still felt right. I was smiling in the picture, arm around her, but upon looking at it, I did not recognize that man anymore. Or maybe I simply did not believe that smile. Because hidden behind it was someone who was already attempting to hold things together without revealing the cracks. I deleted the picture. Not out of bitterness, but because I no longer needed it. I no longer needed to have evidence that we were happy once. It was there, that time, and I settled into it. But I wasn't going to cling to it. I'd finished clinging. Life slowly started coming back together around me, not in big moments, but tiny ones. Making coffee in the mornings without needing to ask someone else's schedule. Cranking up music when I swept because no one was around to complain about it. Sitting on my balcony at night and actually liking the quiet, instead of fearing it. I made new people. Slowly. Guardedly. My shields were up, naturally, and I didn't attempt to conceal them. I was honest about what had happened to me, not in a bitter, telling everybody everything about it fashion, but in a quiet, real kind of way. Like, this is part of my story now. Take it or leave it. Some people took their leave. That's fine. But a few of them lingered on. I even started dating someone casually, nothing serious initially. Just someone who could make me laugh, who didn't ask too many questions too soon, who didn't jump when I said to her, "I've been through some things." Having her around was refreshing. No pretense. No pressure. Two people getting acquainted without both of them trying to rewrite the other's past. I didn't tell her everything right away. It took time. Trust doesn't come easy after you've been publicly humiliated, torn apart, and abandoned by people who once swore they loved you. But she was patient. She never rushed me. And that, more than anything, helped me start to believe in the idea that maybe not everyone was out to break me. I also visited her mom once. Her mom, my ex, I mean. It had been some time, and I just wanted to thank her for all that. She opened the door, and I could see in her eyes how delighted she was to see me. We hugged. She was a bit sleepier, a bit older. I guess this whole thing took something out of her, too. We sat in her kitchen, the same room we sat and had dinner together when I was staying with her, and she told me she had not seen her daughter in months. They had spoken once, but only briefly. It had not gone well. I could hear the pain in her voice. Whatever the issue was, she was still her daughter. That love doesn't fade. It just hurts more. I told her I was okay. That I was working, gaining friends, even thinking about going back to school. She smiled and said, "Good. You deserve good things." It made my throat tighten for some reason. Maybe because for so long, I didn't think so. We didn't talk about the past much. It was like we both knew it, and reeling it off again would not accomplish anything. But as I was about to leave, she looked at me and said, "You didn't deserve what happened. You know that, huh?" I nodded. For the first time, I really did mean it. Healing isn't a straight line. There are still times I feel the burn when I hear someone say something that feels like a jab. Or when some familiar name of mine shows up on the internet. Or when I catch myself wondering what still makes people think about me. But all that doesn't happen anymore. And isn't quite so sharp. I guess that's what healing is, then, not forgetting, not behaving as though it didn't sting, but letting it matter less and less with each passing day. Letting it sculpt you without defining you. I never got an actual apology out of her. That one painful meeting was the closest I got. And honestly, I've abandoned all hope for ever getting one. Closure doesn't always come with a bow. Sometimes you just have to make do and construct it yourself. In the silence. In the letting go. I don't hate her. I thought I would. I thought I'd hold on to that anger like armor. But it's too much weight. And I'm tired. What she did was wrong. Cruel. But I won't let that part of my life turn me bitter. I've struggled too hard to feel light again. To breathe without people's lies choking me. I'm not perfect. I've made my own share of mistakes too. But I've always tried to show up honest. Careful. Loyal. And if that made me a pushover, so be it. I'd rather be the pushover they lied about than the pushover who had to live knowing they were the lie. And maybe that is the greatest revenge, not that I moved on, not that I rebuilt, but that I never became what she aimed to make me become. It's been close to a year now. If you had told me then, during all of that chaos, that I would come out the other side stronger, I probably would not have believed you. I was broken in ways I did not even know how to explain. I thought healing at the time meant coming back to who I had been beforehand. But now I see that healing actually meant letting go of that piece of me who didn't listen to red flags, Piece of me who stayed quiet to maintain peace. Piece of me who got emotional chaos confused with passion. I had to grow beyond him. I had to become someone else. Not tougher, not colder, just clearer. More secure in my own self-worth. I'm in a healthier place today, not just physically, but emotionally. I laugh more. I sleep better. I am surrounded by individuals who see me, not some version of a rumor, but the messy, truthful, changing person I actually am. I've even started dating again, more seriously this time. There is someone in my life who listens when I talk, who doesn't make me doubt my own sanity, who arrives without games or drama. And the craziest thing? I didn't go searching for it. It found me when I decided I was done running around trying to find closure and started making peace instead. We were walking through a farmer's market the other day, just hand in hand with coffee, and I had this weird moment where I almost cried. Not because I was sad, but because I had realized how long it had been since I'd felt this peaceful, this safe, this seen. I thought previously that love was supposed to be a pursuit, and that you needed to earn it each day or lose it. But now I know better. Real love does not make you anxious. It will not make you prove yourself every time. It meets you where you are and grows with you. And if I look back at all that was done, every lie, every betrayal, every lonely night in that little apartment, I don't feel angry anymore. I feel only distance. Like that page in the book remains still part of it, but no longer the page I'm fixated upon. I believe the hardest thing in all this was forgiving myself. Not due to anything that I'd done, but due to the way I let it all impact me. For the evenings I told myself that I deserved it. For the afternoons that I said nothing when I needed to stand up for myself. For the way that I doubted my worth because someone else had put their own hurt on me. But forgiveness, I've learned, isn't so much about the other individuals. And sometimes it's standing before the mirror and saying to myself, "You didn't deserve that. And you did the best you could." That's what I say to myself now, whatever the past resurfaces. Because it does periodically. It catches up with me in a song I recognize, somewhere I used to go, a face resembling someone I used to know. But instead of getting swept under, I pause. I breathe. I remind myself where I've been. And keep moving ahead, yes. There is power in reclaiming your own story. In saying, "Yes, that is what happened. But it does not define me." I used to let her dictate how I felt about myself for so long. Now I tell my own story. One in which I'm not the bad guy, not the victim, just a guy who endured something horribly ugly, and emerged the other side more intact than he ever thought possible. I'm not going to lie, I still bear the scar. Somewhere within me is still a little bit closed off, a little bit careful. But scars don't suggest broken. They suggest healed. And I wear mine with pride. If you're listening, and you've ever been through something similar, if someone ever tried to destroy your name, your peace, your truth, just remember that you're not alone. You're not what they said about you. You're what you survived. You're the quiet you marched in rather than striking back. You're the growth that followed the destruction. And you're worthy of being loved without question, without rumor, without war. I have no idea what became of her last I heard from her. Perhaps she's still spinning tales. Perhaps she's different. I don't wish for her downfall. I don't require that. I'm not living in the past anymore. Because for the first time in a long time, I see my future. And it's shining bright for the first time in a long time. It's honest, undefined, and it's mine.